Hey, hi everyone. Today we have Ryan, who is the partner on Right Brain at 232 Creative, a full service marketing and creative agency located in Pittsburgh. Thank you so much, Ryan, for taking out time for our podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. Ryan, before we move forward and pick your brains on the topics that we're supposed to discuss, it would be great if you can quickly introduce yourself to our audiences tonight.
I'm Ryan Stetz, partner at 232 Creative. 232 Creative is a full marketing and creative agency. We do everything from video work to photography to websites, graphic design, social media management, email marketing, marketing strategy. Basically, anything that you can think of, we handle here at 232.
That's a plethora of services, I must say. Well, Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about your background in terms of how you got into marketing and the creative space?
So I actually went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh and graduated with a graphic design degree. After I graduated, knew that wanted to do my own thing. Come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My mother and father had their own business. My grandma had a hair salon in her basement. Wanted to do my own thing and started freelancing. When I got out, built up a good portfolio of clients from there. And then after about 7 or 8 years, I actually got my first real corporate job, worked in a cubicle. It was only supposed to be part-time. I was just filling in for a friend who was on maternity leave. I was still doing the freelance thing. But then after that, just the cubicle wasn't for me and still wanted to do my own thing. Me and my business partner, Mike Miller, we were out one night having some drinks, discussing life. And then that's where 232 happened. We didn't know if it was just a alcohol-induced conversation at the time. So the next morning we called each other and said, "Hey, were you serious on that?" And we both were. So we started 232 about 7 years ago now.
What were you having that night?
I was having beers. I believe he was having Moscow mules. There's a photo of the both of us sitting on a rooftop at a bar in Pittsburgh and Shady Side. That was the inception of the company.
So, with the constantly evolving landscape of marketing and tech, how does 232 Creative stay up to date with the latest trends and strategies out there?
There's a lot of different ways. It's looking at what other people are doing. Let's not lie to ourselves. We're obviously all creative people are inspired by something and someone. So just keeping an eye on what's going around, educating ourselves on those latest trends through websites, through YouTube, through basically anything, and trying to create our own thing. That's also a big part of it, not just mimicking what you're seeing and not being original, but trying to be creative in your own sense and building something of your own.
Now, as people in the marketing and the digital space, we all go through a lot of content day in, day out. So,
Yeah.
we all have our own learnings. So, being the partner at 232 Creative, you must have, every business have this strong core processes and systems in place. Would you mind sharing some light in terms of what are your core processes and value systems at 232 Creative?
Just for general marketing, I mean, it's different for a lot of things. I would say the biggest thing is just when a client comes to us and explains their needs, we call it discovery period and just do a deep dive into that company. We'll sit down with them for an hour to 2 hours and just have them explain who they are, their mission, their goals, and what they're trying to get from us. Because we're obviously paid for a reason and we're just trying to perform the best we can for those clients. So it's a lot of understanding who the client is, because every client's different. There's no client that we've been like, that client's the same as this client, so we'll just do the same thing. That rarely ever happens. The restaurant business is maybe somewhere that could happen, but at the same time, each restaurant is completely different. And so it's just understanding. It's just a complete discovery period with that client on who they are and what their mission is and what their goals are for us.
So there's a lot of learnings where you speak with people from the same niche, from the same industry. They have their own core values, their own vision, their way of the modus operandi is different from person to person. So talking about businesses, can you share some common mistakes that generally small businesses make when designing or developing a website, and what is your recommendation in terms of how they go about avoiding them?
I think speaking directly to websites, that's what you asked. I think too much information. A lot of the times people look at their website as like a last ditch effort. And that's like the only thing that a viewer is going to see. So they need to put like so much information on it. And while information is good, we also feel sometimes less is more, and providing the most useful information for that viewer, for that potential customer or client can go a long way. Obviously making it very search engine optimized, but just providing exactly what you want to say because we get a lot of times we'll in the process of a website, we'll ask a client, hey, can you provide us the information that you want on some of these pages? And then we'll go back and forth with it. And a lot of the times we've gotten Word documents that have 40 paragraphs for one page. And it's just, while this is, important to you, is there a way that we can boil this down? One of the things like a call to action is getting the viewer to contact you. If you've provided them all of this information, like they're not gonna need to contact you. And another thing is obviously with a lot of websites and the way that the world is nowadays, attention spans are like very short. So when you're on a website and you see just paragraphs and paragraphs, it's who has time to read that. So what we try to do is make that content and the copy more digestible and break it up into sections with different header tags and try and make it, because if somebody looks at like a Word document, it's 7 paragraphs long and that's all. Like they're going to be like, nah, I ain't reading that. But if you break that up and put headers into each of those 7 paragraphs on a website and add different backgrounds and different color schemes and such, it looks a lot more legible and friendly to the user, and they're going to want to read more of it. So that's one thing that I know that is a huge mistake that a lot of companies try to do, is just try and provide too much information for one page.
So see, these are emotional people who have created that business. So you ask them, what is the main core area? They talk about everything. So like you mentioned, if you ask them about a certain topic, they will go on and on about it as to how they have gone into the process of actually creating that product or service. They can completely relate. And as probably web developers or agency who are going to support them in terms of the development of the website or optimization of the same, we can probably have to narrow it down and make them understand that whatever goes on the space has to be actually eye-catchy for the other person, for the user or the customer to actually take an action based on that content, right? Versus just going, they're not going to go through it. They don't have time for that, right? So can completely relate to it. We have also gone through a lot of similar stories, actually. That brings to the importance of UI, UX, user experience, everything we all know. For you, what is the importance of user experience when it comes to web development and how it impacts and an overall success of a website?
The one main thing that you want in a website is to make it easy to navigate. And that's obviously a huge part of the user experience. So if there's a lot going on, or you want to kind of pinpoint what is the purpose of this page and what is the most important parts of it, and make that extremely easy to find. Because the one thing that people hate is trying to locate something on a website when they go there and they can't find the information that they need. While that might be great for like the amount of time that they spend on a page, and when you're looking at Google Analytics, everyone's on this page for 3 minutes. If it took them 2 minutes and 30 seconds to find what they needed, that's not good. It's making everything extremely user friendly and easy to find, and then also making it look good. If it, and they go hand in hand. If it's not very easily, or if the design isn't there, and if it's not pretty, and people are going to have a difficult time just like even just finding the information. And then obviously don't judge a book by its cover, but at the same time, like if the website looks good, people are going to probably think that it is more legitimate than another website that was built on a platform that was from the 1990s or something like that. So it's all about, like I said, making it easy to navigate. And again, that kind of goes with the too much information aspect of it, but also a big part of it is like telling people what you do and providing the information that they're looking for on that specific page or website.
Absolutely. And making them take that call to action, like we say, making them take an action that you want them to take versus just being on that page and going through it. So, anything when we call it link juice, right? So when we move on from one page to another, that is a roadmap in mind, in the Peter's mind that, my customer lands them on this page. What is the next call to action? And how can I move my customer prospect from that page to the actual, product page after minutes, like you mentioned? So many web design platforms and tools available. How do you determine which ones we use for a particular project?
We typically build our websites in WordPress. It's something that we know. We use a page builder called Beaver Builder. We've also used Divi and WP Baker. We've been through all of them. The one that we keep coming back to is Beaver Builder. It helps for two reasons. One, we know it very well, so we can build out a website very quickly. The other aspect of it is that it is extremely user friendly. It's a WYSIWYG. It's what you get. It's like the Squarespaces and the Wix where it's just drag and drop. And we use that just because some of the time we provide website maintenance and upkeep and edits for clients on a monthly basis, but some just, they're like, we probably won't do too much of it. But if we did, how would we go about doing this? After each website is completed and live for the client, if they ask, we have a tutorial on how to do this, how to do that. We found that Beaver Builder is extremely useful and user friendly and easy to use for our clients. But WordPress, I've gone through the Joomlas and the Drupals in the world, and the WordPress, at least for an internet platform, is my favorite for sure.
Let's say when a new client walks through the door for you, let's say prospect. So how do you conduct a website audit for them? Let's say they have already a website. How do you conduct the audit in terms of what are the things which are probably not up to the mark on their website? How do you identify the areas of optimization on that particular website? What does your process looks like?
Like I said, we start off with a discovery period that we sit down with the client, whether that be for an hour or 2 hours, however long it takes, basically for us to gather the information that we want. And part of that discovery isn't even necessarily about the website. A lot of it is about who the company is, what their mission statement is, what their goals are. What are they selling? Is it a product? Is it a service? What kind of product? What kind of services? Who are their target markets? Who's the audience that we're trying to reach? So it's just a lot of questions. Sometimes we think we're asking too much, and the client, like at the end, they're like all drained and stuff like that. But it's all for a reason. There's no just, hey, we're just going to build you a website and be done. You need to understand who and what and where and why. for each client. So that usually is the starting off process. And then, as you mentioned, if they have a current website, part of that is also just looking at their current website, asking them what they like, what they don't like, what was working, what they want to keep, what they don't want to keep, where they want to improve. And again, just going through that and asking all of these questions to gather the information to help. And a part of that is the design. We spoke about user experience and just trying to see, hey, you have a current website. What do you like about it? What do you don't like about the design? And then also going into, okay, who are some of your competitors and how are their websites built? And do you like certain aspects of their website more than others? And then also, not even in their industry, we also ask clients outside your industry, what are some dislikes and likes you like about websites? Because realistically, a website is a website. It's images, it's copy, it's code, but like they're all basically the same entity. But so we always ask, think outside your realm and see if there's anything that you like about a certain website that we can take and bring to yours. Because we've all been on a website and been like, I hate this functionality, or I hate this, or I hate that. Yeah. And just the same, I love this website, I love that. It's just looking at their likes and dislikes, also the analytics. If they have Google Analytics, which we've run into a lot of cases where they don't know if they do, they might, but they don't have the user name and password to log into the account. But if they do, taking a look at those and seeing what's currently working on their site and where we can improve. And also just building a sitemap, that's a huge part of it. And that stems from asking them what their goals are and looking at the analytics, because most people have a structure of their current website, but like, how can we manipulate that based on the analytics, based on this discussion, based on this discovery period to make your website better and to reach the goals and to sell your services or product or whatever it is. And then finally, it's just discussing the copy and what sort of imagery, because obviously those are the biggest parts of the website, is the front facing stuff. So just seeing if they're going to be able to provide us copy. We do. If it's an industry that we're familiar with, we'll definitely help out. But we've done websites where we have absolutely no idea, like what the client is selling or something like that. So we try and get them to help us out and to at least create a basis, and then we'll go in and touch it up for grammar and for SEO and stuff like that. But also just gathering of images. I think that's probably one of the hardest things with working with clients, and is gathering images, because I just Google search this one. We can't use that unless you have the rights to it, or somebody took it on behalf of you or something like that. It's a long, strenuous process, but it's all necessary to get that end product.
Has this ever happened? This has happened with me multiple times. During the discovery call, when we actually go ahead and ask some questions about the, let's say, mission, vision, these four things. Google Analytics obviously has happened times now, but these things, like when you talk about mission, the vision, what is the goal, and sort of thing. Actually, I have come across cases wherein the founders themselves weren't sure that they were about to be answering so many questions about their own business after being in that business for, let's say, 5 years, 3 years, whatever. So has there been such instances with you as well?
That's when we sit down with a lot of these clients and ask all these questions, it's a learning process for them too. It's stuff that they might not have thought about unless it's a huge company that has all of this in some PDF that they send out to people. A lot of these smaller businesses and even medium-sized businesses, like, it's eye-opening for them. Like, what is our mission statement? What is who are we, basically? So we're not only helping ourselves, we're helping them. So it's extremely beneficial for both parties involved.
Right. And then, we're talking about storytelling and branding. We all know how important is it. If you can share some tips in terms of how it can be incorporated into website design and content.
We're talking about branding specifically.
Yeah. The branding.
Yeah. Some of the clients that come to us, at least in the beginning of two, like, were startups. We dealt a great deal with startups in the beginning, and we were actually creating their branding and helping them create those. We would design the logo, we would design the business cards, the letterhead, any sort of marketing materials. So website was obviously a main component of that. And after the logo, typically that's where we started. We would design the logo, create them a corporate identity package, but then go into the website and make sure that, this website and some of the elements are translatable to other aspects and other applications that they're going to be using and marketing, whether that's social media or a one pager or a trifold, or even like signage and within the business itself. So I think that's a lot of the fun process, creating that brand for that company. Because I wouldn't say it's necessarily easier, but like, whenever a company comes to you and already has a style guide and has a brand, you can use the color schemes and any sort of elements they already have within the website or anything that you're creating for them. I think it's really useful or really fun to actually create a brand for a company, and you're giving them life, really. They had an idea, they have a vision, but they're coming to you to bring it all together. And it's also fun to see when people have, we have some sketches, like we have this on a piece of paper or napkin, and you see what their logo idea was or what they had envisioned. And then you take that and you actually create it into the logo. And then you take their whole entire vision and make it a website. It's a blast for sure.
Now, before we kind of wind it up, I'm sure our audiences would want to know this from you. How do you measure the success of a website's branding and design efforts? And is there any numeric thing to it? How do you calculate these things out to the creator? And how do you adjust your strategies accordingly?
We look at, obviously, is the client happy? If the success of a website starts with, before it's actually live, is the client happy? Did we do everything that they asked? And then from there, did we, if it's an old site that we were redeveloping, did we improve it? Did we make it better? Or if we made it harder, that wasn't, or if we didn't do any improvements to it and made it even harder to search and find, and the user experience was garbage, like we didn't do our jobs. We look at it, okay, did we do what we set out to do? Did we meet the goals? Everything that we talked about in a discovery period, is it in this website? And then once it's live, it's just going back. If we, like I said, we mentioned we do a lot of website maintenance for clients, keeping up with the analytics and just seeing, are the calls to actions working? Are the pages that we anticipated people going to the most, is that working? And then if it's not, how can we adjust that? And that's usually not like an immediate thing. Like, obviously, a website takes a while to gather that sort of data that you need. I believe some people say it's 6 months for a website to get the information that you're looking for to make any changes. But then did we speak to the target audience? Did we speak to the market that they're trying to reach? And if we did all of that, then that's how we look at success.
So before we kind of let you go, you touched upon, CTS, call to actions. Any tips for our audiences? How to be consistent about creating effective call to actions with the brand's messaging and values.
Thing is to have strong commands, whether that be buy, shop, order, download, join, and tell the user exactly what you're looking for them to do and have strong actionable commands. Also making it easy to find. You don't want the call to action to look like anything else on the website, because then it just gets camouflaged within that site or any sort of marketing piece in general. And to make sure that if there's a deal or any sort of like a sale or discount or a benefit to the customer, making that apparent. One thing that we definitely stress here is, hey, if it's 25% off something, like make sure people know that it's 25% off before anything else. Like people, anytime someone can save money, like that's where their eye's going to go. And you want that to be the part of it. Cause if the header is just some fluff and then there's a little bit part on the buy one, get one free or something, or half off or something, then it's probably not going to work as well if it's vice versa, where there's a huge spot where the deal is right in front of you. It smacks you in the face as soon as you're there. So making sure that that's the main focus, but then also being true or using your tone of the company. It's nice to have all these fancy words and go through a thesaurus and try and make it someone that you're not. Like if it's off brand, people are going to recognize that. And you need to make the tone of any sort of call to action, whether that be just a header and a small paragraph and a button or anything like that, make that who you are. Because in some cases, like with paid advertisements, like that's your first impression. That's the first look that someone gets. And if your product is sexy or your service is needed for that particular viewer, that making sure that call to action and everything on brand is extremely important.
Thank you so much for sharing such valuable insights. And I'm pretty sure our audiences would have loved to hear and pick your brains on web development and UI UX design in general. We would love to, get hold of you for another, really a more detailed episode sometime down the line. And that's been a real pleasure having you on our show. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me.